Maya, normally I do an introduction. I don't need one today because your story is the introduction and everything itself. And I've interviewed so many people, and you are just such an inspiration. I've always had great respect and admiration for you. And it's like 4 times, 10 times more. I mean, you are an inspiration, not just to me, but to everyone. And you're a proof that my tagline, I keep saying, like, with purpose, perseverance, passion, and prayer, you can achieve anything in life. And the power of the prayer, like, my dad died in February, and a couple of weeks later I got a message from one of our mutual friends saying Maya is fighting for her life. And I thought, what? Maya? No,
Possible.
it can't be possible. Not Maya. What? And it was amazing to see the amount of people praying for you. And I remember this one particular day where I was just praying, and I kept saying, God, I can't believe it. Maya, I know her. She's a strong person. She's going to make it. She's going to do it. She's going to fight. Even though she's in a coma, she's going to fight. I don't know how, but she's going to fight. And then I sent you a message, and I knew, I go, she's in a coma. She's not going to get this. I mean, right? But then when I got your message on April 29th, I was so happy and thrilled to hear from you. And it's just unbelievable what you went through. And that's what I wanted to do today. Like, I wanted to interview you so that we can tell your story to people, because there's still a lot of people out there that think that COVID is no big deal, right? And like I said to you before, until we actually have someone that we know that got hit with it and is suffering from it and the effects of it, it doesn't really hit you. So I appreciate you joining me today for Positive Thinking with Paula. I know you just came from therapy, and I appreciate you giving me your time. And I just want us to tell people what you went through, your story, your struggle, and, you know, the message that you have for people. So
Sure.
that's a lot.
No, it's okay.
But Maya, why don't you start by telling us what happened? I mean, you had just published 2 books, 2-time best-selling author, thriving entrepreneur. You were doing public speaking and appearances throughout the country, and all of a sudden, boom, Maya disappears. And now we know what happened to Maya. So tell us, Maya.
Well, Paula, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. This is wonderful, and I definitely want to help to spread positivity, because through the power of prayer and positivity is what I was able to rise again. And I got COVID. I believe I got it from the gym. And the reason I believe that I got COVID from the gym, and I'm previously as healthy as a horse, I have never been sick, severely sick, except for your mild cold and flu like everyone else. I've never been sick before to this extent where I would have low oxygen levels and have to be put into a coma because of contracting the coronavirus. And in the beginning, when I got the coronavirus from the gym, I was kind of embarrassed about it because I thought I had gotten this plague that's almost like you're the scarlet letter and you've got the letter and don't touch me or don't talk to me because you're poisonous in some way. So I felt kind of alone and kind of in the beginning felt in denial that this could even happen to me. So this particular day when I went to the gym, I always say hello to the guy at the front desk because he's absolutely darling. He's so sweet and cute and handsome. I always make it a point to say hello. But I say hello to everyone anyways. But that particular day I was all flirty and I said, I'm gonna change. He's like, hi, how you doing? I said, good, I'm gonna change it up today. And if I didn't have that dialogue, I probably would have thought I got it someplace else. But that particular day, we had a dialogue, and I said, I'm going to change it up today. I said, my shoulders are hurting, so I think I'll do the massage chairs. I want to work on my arms, and then I'm going to treat myself to the sauna. And when I go to the gym, I always bring my own towel, my own water bottle, a clean change of clothes, wipe everything down. I'm very cautious and careful at the gym because I owned a gym at one point in my life, a Curves for Women, and I know the importance of cleaning a gym down. And I never drink from the water fountain because I think that's just gross. And I bring my own water bottle filled, and that way I don't ever have to fill it up. So I did the massage chair, I did the weights, and now it was time to treat myself to the sauna. Now, before going into the sauna, I washed my hands because I always wash my hands before using the equipment and after using the equipment. And when I went in that sauna, I definitely felt something wasn't right. I felt this Peachtree dish come over me, like I walked right into it, and it just in minutes took over my body, and I was like, "I gotta get out of here." And I got in my car, I washed up, grabbed my stuff, and went into my car and drove home. My husband was mowing the lawn, and I said to my husband, I go, "Honey, I don't feel well. I need to lay down." Well, that particular week, I also had my checkup at the doctor's office because I did have a slight little cough, but nothing that out of the normal or it's winter time. And so I thought perhaps I should, I was going for my checkup. So I said I perhaps should ask him, do you have the COVID test? Because do I have COVID? And he said, no, you don't have any symptoms showing of it. And my lungs were cleared. So he said, you know what, I'll give you Zithromax and I'll give you Symbicort. So I left and went to the dentist thereafter because I had an achy tooth and I needed this tooth pulled. And I came home, but I took the pills already and I was still going to the gym because that was Tuesday. I went Wednesday, I went Friday. It was Friday the 13th. And I came home and I said to my husband, I don't feel well. And Saturday, the next day, I started with a fever and dehydration. And I thought, something is not right. And for me to take myself to the hospital
It's serious.
is be serious, yes, because I would probably weigh it out and see how I feel. But I didn't feel well. And so I asked them, now, anytime between Tuesday and Friday is when I would have gotten the COVID. So I didn't have any symptoms on the Tuesday when I saw my doctor, but I went to the gym on Wednesday and on Friday. So it had to have happened between then, but I almost am positive that it happened in the sauna because there's no ventilation. It was heat. I couldn't breathe. And my symptoms all started right after that. Prior to that, I didn't have any symptoms.
I was just going to say, Maya, like you were pretty healthy, right?
Yes.
In the beginning, they were saying that, COVID would hit you if you had, if you were older, if you had pre-existing conditions, it wouldn't affect, healthy people, younger people, but that's not the case.
No, it's true. Now, when I went to the emergency room, the Saturday the 14th, they gave me 2 bags of IV because I was starting to dehydrate, and they gave me a test for um, pneumonia, which my doctor had said, you don't have this. And it was so new that nobody knew how to treat it. But then on Monday at 7 o'clock in the morning, the Department of Health called me and Ellis Hospital, and they called my primary care and said I tested positive for COVID. I should rest for 14 days in quarantine, and so should my husband. So I called my husband, and he came home, and we all started to bunker down. And by Wednesday, I was dying of respiratory failure. I lost my appetite. I lost of taste, loss of smell, digestive diarrhea problems. I couldn't eat. I was starting to die from my feet up. And my husband said, you have to eat, you have to eat. And I never left the bedroom or ate the food that he got me. And then I would just say, go to the market. I want tangerines, or I want pudding cups to help get the medicine down, because the emergency room also gave me some things to take the edge off and to clear it up because they didn't know what it was that I had. So
did you have pain?
I did have pain. but nothing as severe as when I was in the hospital. So the 21st, my husband carried me down the steps because I could no longer walk. He's like, "You have to go. You have two choices. I'm going to call the ambulance or I'm going to carry you down the steps." So I said to him, "Honey, why don't you let me go to the bathroom because I don't know how long I'll have to wait in the emergency room, and then we can go. You can take me to the emergency room." So when I got out of bed, which I still had the same pajamas and stuff on, and I said to him, "I can't walk." And so that's when he said, "Forget it, we're going." And he carried me. And he carried me into the
God, he
car.
did.
He saved my life. My husband saved my life. And I was already blue like the day before, my lips and stuff. He said, "Your color was changing, everything was changing." And I was dying, but I didn't know it. And I got there and the emergency rushed me because I probably passed out in the wheelchair when they wheeled me in. I don't recall because they put me in a sleep right away, in oxygen. My oxygen level was at 60. I thought it was in 80s because the week before it was in the 80s, and I thought that was normal because they sent me home. I don't know. I'm not a medical professional. So I was just like, okay. Um, and all I remember them was counting down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I woke up 35 days later from Ellis Hospital. I was in the ICU. I was being proned. My lungs collapsed 3 times. Several times my husband was told I wasn't going to make it to call our daughter from college during exam time in March because this hadn't gone anywhere except New York, and had to come home to say goodbye to her mom. And that broke my heart when I found out. And my husband never talked much, and it was really quiet on Facebook because everyone looks for my stories
Right.
and for my Facebook lives and stuff.
You
And
kept
I've always
looking.
been,
Is she
yeah.
posting something? Is she out? Nothing. Nothing.
That's how everybody knew there was something seriously wrong with Maya. So I was in a coma. That's coma saved my life for 30 days. And I was put on remdesivir. And like you had mentioned, there was some false information in the beginning, like it was going to go away in the summertime, it's going to go away in the heat, it was going to happen to younger people. Well, I was the very first severe case for a woman, young female, and that got all of the nurses and doctors in a loop-de-loop because they were given all this false information that it was only elderly that it was going to affect. And then I had to go to rehab. I got transported, which Ellis Hospital and Sunnyview are connected, so they would just wheel me over. And I was really lonely, Paula. I didn't know what happened to me. And all I could keep saying, because I was still in a coma and I was trying to come out of it, like sedated. And no, I wasn't in a coma yet. I came out of the coma when I was in Ellis Hospital, but I was still sedated. I wasn't cognitive of why is it um,
Is this happening,
April?
right? What's going on?
Yeah, March 21st. Like, why is it April 24th? Like, I couldn't understand what had happened to my body and what happened to me. And why am I in a hospital and why can't I see my family?
And I was going to say, your family, your husband, your daughter, they couldn't see you, right?
And my mom works at the hospital, the Ellis Hospital. She couldn't even see me. And it was a scary time, and the world was shut down, and I didn't know because I was in a coma. And I was there for 34 days, 35 and then 34 rehab. And then I was able to come home on May 28th. That would be 69 days. And I was supposed to be there for the 29th, but it was Family Teach Day. And Paula, I had to learn how to eat, walk, and talk all over again. And the time you mentioned that how you sent me a message, there were hundreds of messages, but I didn't have the feeling in my hands to
You
hold the
reach
phone.
on, right?
And I would pluck like a chicken with my right hand, and I'm left-handed, and all the things were in my left hand, the needles and stuff. So I didn't really have mobility. And so I had to learn to use the putties and stuff to get my mobility back. They gave me a handicap call light for the nurse that I use my elbow to like call them because if I needed help. But I didn't need much help because I was still in a coma, sort of. I was sedated on all these pills. I couldn't move or walk. I was having a human crane called a Hoyer lift me out of bed into a wheelchair to go to therapy. And the first time I walked was closer to May, and I took my first 6 steps. But I was in so much pain that I asked God if I
Mm.
didn't know what happened to me with COVID. So I said, God, if I'm going to be a vegetable for the rest of my life, please take me. And he didn't, because we went to that gate 3 times and he sent me away. So, and my lungs collapsed. So I
You
say,
have so much life and you are so active and you were doing so much that I can't even imagine this, what you felt. And to hear you say that you said that to God when there's no limit for you, you know?
yeah,
Um,
his gatekeepers,
talk
they're
a
probably more
little
like
bit more,
security guards.
Maya, talk a little bit more about that feeling, that particular moment, because I know you, I've known you for probably like 10 years. You're a fighter. Okay. There is nothing that's going to knock Maya McNulty down.
You're
Okay.
right.
There's a lot
Yeah.
of people out there though that aren't as strong as you are. Like, what advice, what do you want to tell them if they're going through something similar to this when they get to that moment? Because if you had lost your hope, you wouldn't have been where you are today, right? You wouldn't have been able to fight and to walk and you want to do it. Not everybody is like that. So,
It's true. When I was in the hospital, I could smell the food when people were getting their food. And I know that nutrition is one of the most important things to get your health back. But I was being tube fed. And so I had a hole in my stomach with a tube, and that's how they would feed me. And so I also had a lot of pain. And I would say, God, lift this pain for me and break it into a million pieces and sweep it off the earth where no one will find it. And I would pray that every night, Paula, because I was in so much pain. It was as though there were shards of glass in my body, and it hurt so bad, and it would poke me so like like needles. And I say to the nutritionist would come in and they would check and see how much I'm eating because prior to that I was in the ICU and I'd be so dehydrated and I'd be like, "Can you just wet my tongue? I'm so thirsty." And they wouldn't because I couldn't swallow. They would take one of those suction things and suction my mouth, and I couldn't swallow yet. I had to do a radiology swallowing test with this glow in the dark stuff. And I'm never gonna eat marshmallows again because that's what they put, that glow in the dark thing out of a tube. And I love marshmallows like s'mores, but my goodness, it was disgusting some of those things you had to do that your body went through. But I did it because I wanted to get healthy and I knew that how I thought that I had a stroke because I didn't know about this COVID stuff.
mm,
And then it turned out I did because my head was leaning and I was drooling to the left, and my left side was numb, and my body, I just couldn't move anything. So I thought, like, okay, I must have had a stroke, and that's why I'm here. And I'd say, can I see my husband? And they would say, no, we can't allow visitors. And I wasn't strong enough to hold the iPad up to have him talk to me. And I couldn't talk either. So I would just be like, my husband would, that was all he needed to see was my face. And he would tell me how beautiful I am and how strong and how many people are praying for me. And thank you
and
so much,
you were
Paula.
there during Mother's Day.
I was. My daughter sent me flowers and she said, Mom, you're a badass.
You are
And
badass.
so I said, yes, I'm strong and tough. But for people who aren't as strong as me, you are a warrior. You just don't know how strong you are until you have to be that strong. Mentally, you're stronger than you think. And I would say I wrote 5 things down that I thought helped get me through this particular phase of my life. And I think it makes a lot of sense and it would work for whatever trauma you're going through. Now, now I lost my voice, and so I had to learn to talk all over again, and I sound like Marge Simpson or Mickey Mouse. So, but it's okay. I
Okay,
lost all
it's
my
all
hair.
good.
Yeah, I lost all my hair. See how thin it is? But my hair doesn't define me. I started to think positively. I can walk. I made 6 steps. It was 6 steps before. Now I can walk about 1,000 to 2,000 steps given the day. So that's a half a mile to
Cool, right?
a mile. Yeah. So just think you can. It's attitude. Attitude is everything. Now, some of the things I did to reach out for support, these 5 things really helped me, and it'll help anybody in any stage that they're at. For example, you have to start getting plenty of rest. You have to cut out the noise and lower the pressure and noise so that you start getting the rest that you need to heal. You will heal when you rest. So cut out the pressure and the noise and start healing. The second thing I would tell you to do is join a Facebook group. There's lots of them out there, but for me, I have 2 that I really am proactive in because they're able to give me the love and empathy that I am looking for. Because doctors and nurses, this is all an unknown, uncharted territory. So find a Facebook group, share your story, be empathetic, and give back. Give more than you receive because you're stronger than you think, and your story, your journey will save somebody's life, or it would even brighten their lives to give them a smile, and that might be all they need. The third thing I tell you to do is document your journey. Now, you don't have to write 2 books, 3, or even 20, but documenting your journey, do it on a calendar and just say, today I walked 6 steps. I felt nauseous. Whatever day it was, I had a phone call or I ate a full meal. I ate more than my 2,000 calories today. Like things that you can look back for. Look back and because you'll never forget what you did when you look at that calendar and it'll jot that memory, but just bullet it. And that way you can keep track. Like now, there's nothing been said about COVID and PTSD. But on September 9th, I had my very first PTSD night. I told my primary care, and he said I was dreaming. Well, listen, buddy, dreaming is PTSD. However, I can't explain it, but when I told my pulmonologist, I described the room to a T when I was in a coma. So I wasn't dreaming, and it was a flashback. But there's no way I could have told you unless it was a PTSD exactly how everything was set up in that room and what I was wearing and how my body was and what the colors were and how the machines were set up.
All of that.
And I was in a coma. So PTSD is something that COVID for long haulers. I have a pre-existing condition now. I was never any medical conditions prior to this. So now I have a pre-existing condition. But since I've documented it, I can be accountable for myself. And now when my heart rate goes to 120, 130, 138, I know not to freak out because there's a pattern and that might be my new normal. So document it. And the next thing I want you to know is we all want to get back to our normalcy and get back to the way our lives used to be, but we're not how we used to be. And we have to realize that and give ourselves grace. So as you recover, don't overdo it. My therapists tell me this all the time because I'm full of life and energy and I'm enthusiastic and I have a positive attitude. But I can easily overdo it, which will step me back. And I'm all about going forward. So if I take my time and get plenty of rest, and I have support through the Facebook group when others aren't listening to me or share the same story, or if I document it to see what my pattern is, then I know don't overdo it because there was a day I couldn't walk at all. There was a day I couldn't eat at all. There was a day I couldn't even wipe my own butt. Now I could do all those things and I give myself grace because I know that there's something higher planned for me, a purpose. And honestly, Paula, you
You
talk about the visions of God.
should.
I was laying in my chair at the beach at Sacandaga Lake because I never thought I'd see the lake again because I thought I was dying and I had a lot of water dreams. And I saw a vision of God. And when he came to me, I said, I'm not going with you. I went to your gate twice and you kicked me away. You sent me away. So I'm not going.
You have a bigger
And,
purpose here.
and he said this to me. And people might think I'm crazy or I'm hallucinating or I'm just saw this somewhere else. But I heard it. He said it wasn't happening to you, it was happening for you.
Hmm. I know.
And
Sometimes
I
you don't see it, right?
mhm. So I said, yeah. And then he went away because it's happening for you, not to you.
Hmm.
And so I was like, I, I don't know if it was an apology to put me through all of this, but so yeah, don't overdo it. I know you want to get back to your normal self, but we're not the same like we used to be. We have to slow down and take it easy.
And Maya, would you agree that sometimes, most of the times, we humans are too hard on ourselves? And especially with strong women like you, and I have to, if you don't mind, I want to mention this quote that I saw, that I heard in one of your recent interviews, where you said, you know, you're a strong person, but sometimes are scared inside and a little nervous because here you were like thriving, you still are, but you had so much going on, and now it's, you know, taking baby steps. When someone hears something like this, right? Like, what do you mean she's a strong woman? Like, why is she scared? Like, can you talk a little bit about this? Like that,
Sure.
because sometimes people see, you know, inspirational people like you, and it's, you're supposed to like not have feelings and just be strong all the time. But no, you're human too, right? Let's talk
Yeah,
a little bit about that part, about that,
sure.
you being scared inside. Tell us about like what you said and what you meant when you said that.
Well, thank you. That's a great question. Now, I have a different view on life now because when I had to learn to walk again, I was in a wheelchair. And then I had moved to a walker. I graduated to a walker, and now I've graduated to a cane. I'm not independent yet, 100%, but I love ice cream. And my husband would say, I'll take you out for an ice cream sundae. So I say, oh, yes, I want to go. I want to go. But sometimes people look at you funny and they look at you like, what's wrong with you? You're so young. Or like, they're intrigued. They want to know, like, what's up. Or some people have empathy and they'll give that to you, like with a smile or hi, how you doing? But inside, we sometimes are so broken, like many people are. And yes, I'm strong, but I'm not perfect. There isn't a perfect person out there. And I'm not trying to get back perfect because I'll never be who I was once. And I lost my voice, but now I know my voice has been amplified. I just look at it as in a positive way. My husband will say to me, I don't want you to walk the steps alone because my heart rate elevates. So I haven't slept upstairs in my bed since I've been home from the hospital, except once because my husband said, let's try it. But he goes to work early in the morning, and I don't want to get stuck upstairs. And I have everything downstairs, the handicap bathroom, the bed, the kitchen, everything that I need, and clothes. He brought clothes down for me, but I'm not as independent. So that plays on my emotions and my self esteem. When I lost my hair inside, I think, like, why me? Like, this is devastating to a woman. When I lost my voice, I thought, how would I ever tell the world how I feel again? I started to write, to say, okay, that's not going to hold me down. I'm going to write. I have a podcast, Fundraising Secrets, and I can't speak on my podcast right now because I don't have enough time. And my vocals, we just discovered that I have a bilateral full paresis. Paresis goes to the root word of paralyzation, but I'm not paralyzed. But I don't want to um, sound like Marge Simpson. I'm a little insecure. So I, I, I'm not doing the things I want to do. There's lots of things that hold me back. So I feel broken inside and scared to step out. A while ago, I wasn't posting any pictures of myself because of my hair and because of my ventilator scar and my trach scar. I was really embarrassed over it because originally I thought I had the scarlet letter, that I had done something wrong. But these are now my scars, my badge of honor. And now I know it's my badge of honor. So I take my attitude and change it around. But it's taking me time to understand that it's okay. I don't need a body full of just beautiness that I once had and that I've lost now.
More than ever.
My husband says the
Maya.
same thing. He lifts me up by telling me that. My friends tell me that too. And when I try to walk just a little extra, they say, "Hey, what are you doing?" And one time last week was my mother's birthday. We're sitting having cake, and I lost feeling in my left leg. I couldn't get up out of the chair. My husband had to carry me. So I'm broken inside. I feel insecure at times. I feel that sometimes I'm not enough, but I know I am because I change it around in my mind, basically making lemonade out of lemons. So, and that's the other thing. That's my number 5. It's communication. The world would be so much better and easier going if there was better communication. So communicate with your doctors, communicate with your friends, your support groups, your prayer groups. Don't feel alone because you're not alone. If you have this one problem of loneliness or COVID long haulers or whatever you might have, a stroke, there's so many people that are just like you that are going through the same thing. But you are stronger than you think, so you can get through it.
Maya, can we talk about some of the symptoms? Because
Sure.
the fever, for example, like if you go to a doctor's office or to a gym or anywhere you go, that's the first thing that they do is check for your temperature.
Yeah.
But that's not, sometimes people can have it and not have that symptom, right?
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up. So there goes my cane falling. There's my cane. That's the only thing with the cane. It just always falls. It's like, it's just another chore. At least I'm getting some
Must,
body movements. Yeah, building up my strength again from reaching, pulling. It's amazing what you take for granted is like reaching and pulling now. It's like, oh yeah, that works again. But when you didn't have it for 69 days, it's a gift. So thank you for asking me about the fevers and the chills and body chills and cough and stuff like that. So we're doing some research now, Paula, and this is what I've been doing since I've been out of the hospital is not only working on recovery for myself and recovery for the families like my daughter and husband, because we don't know this turkey virus and what it's doing to families mentally, emotionally, financially. Um, we look at the unemployment rate and things like that, but that's not a judge of what's really going on in the household. So when I was in the hospital, my husband cried every night. He hurt when he had to tell our daughter that she has to come home from exams and say goodbye to her mom. That's painful. Those are some hard things. People ask me, what is it to look out for COVID? A lot of people call and ask me. So one of the things is fever is an indication. And the reason I know this is because since I've been out of the hospital, besides journaling, I've been helping colleges and universities and clinics to find cure or not to eradicate because we're far from that, but one day the goal is to eradicate COVID. But I've helped the Mayo Clinic on long haulers, Mount Sinai Hospital, the University of Indiana University School of Medicine, Delhi University, um, University College of London, I've IQVIA, and what I've done with them is I've changed the severity scale of pre-COVID and post-COVID because when I was in the hospital, they didn't have anything to measure it by. And so I was able to be a voice in that. And I got a certificate now that says I've been helping them because I was like, if I'm going to do all this work, I want to have a certificate to show because my certificate is my survival. But if someone's going to ask me, what gives you the right to say fever isn't a condition of COVID, a symptom? And I say, because I have a certificate now, I can tell you why. We've done studies, and it's proven to be it's not a myth. You can have a fever. But the most severe symptoms to look for first are loss of taste, loss of smell, coughing, and then fever, or digestive GI issues and then fever. So fever is actually like the fifth thing that you would have to look for. So yeah, when you
brain fog, is that also?
that no, that's a long hauler's effect. Long haul was discovered by a woman. Her last name is Watson, and she had COVID, but not as severe as I had it. Now, long haul is what happens after your recovery, like during recovery. And she was having these symptoms, and she just made a joke saying, "Oh, the long haul of this all." And so doctors and scientists picked it up and said, we're going to keep the name long haul. Long COVID, long haulers is to define people like me as a long hauler of COVID. We're the long haulers, like the community or group. We have long haulers, whereas the symptom of side effects after the post effects of COVID. So some of the post effects that I had was the hair loss. It was the telogen, not because of medication or being in a coma for trauma, but from the recovery of what the stinky virus has done to me. Voice loss. I did a poll, and only 200 people in my poll said that they also suffered from voice loss post-COVID. And then what I did was created a severity scale of it. And some are not as severe and some are. Same with the pre-COVID. So now when you go to hospitals, you'll see that. And I had a hand in doing that with that company. I also lost my memory when I had COVID, and I'm now starting to get my memory back. So sometimes it has to take me a little while, and I get the brain fog and the dizziness. They're saying now you can get COVID in the eyes, which I don't believe so, because just like a sty, it stays right in the eye. The only problem is if you rub your eye and then touch your mouth, your mask, or something like that. I do believe in masks. I do believe that they will save your lives. In fact, my husband didn't get COVID when he carried me down the steps because he had a mask on. And the reason he had a mask on is because I was so severe and the Department of Health called and said we had to quarantine. So I was upstairs and he was downstairs. So he never got it. But when he was carrying me, he had a mask and I had a mask on as well, the N95s. So, and we had them and he's worn them because he's in the construction field. So we've always had a mask. So some people say, oh, well, that's because you didn't wear your mask. Well, prior to March 2020, nobody wore a mask really, unless you were a doctor or a construction worker or worked in a hospital setting. So smart, Alex.
You are such an inspiration.
Oh, thank you.
And a fighter, and you're helping so many people right now.
I wasn't going to tell my story, and in the support group, like you and Dr. Tom and Melissa and everyone, Trina, everyone said, she's got to write her book. She's got to write a book. And I was like, I'm not writing a book. You know how hard it is to write a book? No way, no way. But again, I felt like I was poisonous. I felt I'd done something wrong. I didn't know what happened until it started to unfold. And then I realized that I could save lives if I started telling my story. and that people would become more aware. And because New York was so heavily hit, and most people really didn't know a lot of people that had COVID. And when they knew me, they used to share my story, and it made them more aware and more careful. And it probably even saved their life because they were less naive about it.
Right.
They were more cautious and said, no, you can get it. Anybody can get it. And that's one of the mistakes that they made when they were saying this, that how it was only the elderly, wasn't going to affect young people or young children. It was going to go away in the heat. And I knew straight away, I got it in the heat. I'm betting my last dollar. And also, I'm a young 47-year-old female without prior medical conditions. And they were really surprised that I survived because people of color, being a woman, having your lungs collapse that many times. And right now, my lungs are not clear. They still look like burnt Swiss cheese. They haven't gotten worse, but they haven't gotten better. So they have been looking like burnt Swiss cheese still.
Maya, because it's so unknown, right? Physical therapy, when you go to physical therapy, usually they'll tell you, okay, it's going to be 4 times a month, or you're going to be fine after 2 months. But in your condition, like even with your voice, they don't know, right?
They don't know. I'm gonna actually have 20 weeks of therapy for 2020 and 20 weeks in 2021 of therapy. They're not gonna let me go because they don't know what this long haulers is in reference to what's gonna happen. One, there's not enough research. I'm kind of like the test. And more physical therapists. I have a special physical therapist, not just a physical therapist. I have a pulmonary physical therapist, which is starting to come about. They just take an extra 6 weeks course and get certified and state tested to be able to treat someone like me. So it's going to be coming about. So if someone has the situation, they need a pulmonary physical therapist, not just a physical therapist.
And
Also,
go ahead, sorry.
also, with the voice loss, you don't need speech. I needed speech when I didn't know how to speak, and I had to relearn again how to swallow and stuff. And speech is very important, and I probably could still use speech. However, because of my voice loss, I needed vocal stimulation to get that going again.
That
So
is amazing, that being a public speaker and then all of a sudden not being able to speak and not remember. That's huge.
yeah, yeah, and it's scary because when I was in the hospital and I couldn't speak, I the worst came over my mind because I thought, oh my God, my career's over. I'm done. I have to reinvent myself all over again. What the frig? I don't want to do that. And because I was already getting speaking opportunities globally, and I was thinking, I was on fire for 2020. Come on. And everyone got a halt to their future, and it'll come back. We just have to stay positive. And
Right?
there's a monkey wrench, and we can dodge it, but it's okay. You just have to stay positive, have a positive attitude, surround yourself with people that lift you up. Be one of those people that is a person that lifts others up. Be that person if you can't find that person, and it will gravitate. And what you exude will amplify. Be that person. If you can't find it, be that person. And that's what I decided to do, was to be that person when I was so scared to tell my story. And I'm Indian. And honestly, my parents were like, why would you do that? Like, it was kind of like embarrassing because nobody knew what this was all about. And so, why would you tell everybody your story or put your life on Facebook, right? And like, it's kind of like a bad thing to do, put your life on Facebook. And so I say, okay, I'm going to do it anyways because it's going to save lives. And like I said, it's going to save lives. So let's do that. Let's save lives. Let's educate. Let's do science. Let's do research. Let's develop something. Let's be a solution. So, and recovery. There's nothing for recovery. Families need recovery.
That's the thing. It's not just you, it's your daughter, your husband, your parents, because they weren't able to see you throughout all of
And Roz, my best friend, friends,
Right.
even my friends, they need recovery too because they used to do a lot with me. And now they can't do as much with me. I go very slow now. I'm not the one that says, let's go, let's go. Their steps are still the same, right? If they walk 1,000 steps, that's 3,000 for me. I mean, I'm sorry, it's 3,000 for them, it's 1,000 for me. You know, it's flipped. And I survived being in a coma and on a ventilator. Did you know that 20% of the people died? So out of 100, 80 people would have died. I'm one of those people that survived. I'm blessed for that. Now, I'm not lucky that I got COVID, but I'm lucky that I can change the outcome,
Right.
change the story, and be a stronger beacon of light for others.
What an
So,
inspiration, Maya.
um,
Anything else you would like to add? I'm so
I,
thankful for your time.
you're welcome. My pleasure. Again, I want to just say to the people, you're not alone. And if you need help, they can certainly follow me on social media. I'm going to write a book called Miracle from Ventilator to Victory. So there'll be a lot of things in the book to help you um, move from point A to point B, whatever that solace will be. Um,
And Maya, what is your blog?
So I don't actually have a blog. I just blog on Facebook
Oh, okay.
because yeah, it's easier for me to just do it on Facebook to blog post on there, and then I just take my content and create it into a book. Um, but yeah, I just didn't have enough time, and like my podcast, Fundraising Secrets, is just sitting there now. So I didn't want one more thing to sit or make it easy. And that's another tip. If
Here's
you're gonna
Maya
do
saying she doesn't want it to sit. Girl, you're going through a lot right now. Take your time.
yeah, but that's the thing. You have to give yourself grace and do what works. Do what's easy. Don't go creating something new to add more things to do to your list. Just use what already works. If it's Instagram, if it's TikTok, if it's Facebook, Twitter, find your platform and go with it and stick with it because the world needs your story and your special gift, and don't give up on yourself. And again, if you can't find that group or that person to support you, become that person.
And Maya, I noticed your voice is getting so much better too.
Yeah, it does. It gets stronger. It's like it gets wispy, then it gets stronger, and then it goes away. Every day I start all over again. But it's all good. I feel good about it. Yeah,
I love you.
I love you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I know you have to go take a nap.
Yeah, if it's my nap time.
Maya, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I love you.
Okay.
I'm so happy that you made it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna tell the story and keep it going because I think that how it's kind of like passing a baton, or a torch in the race and give it to the next guy so they can run it. So I'm just gonna pass the light, keep doing it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do. Yeah,
Bye.
talk to you. I love you.
Love you too.
Bye.